I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. Before we go ahead and get started, got to make sure the tubes are working. Otherwise, yours truly can be caught here just rambling off into oblivion. We don't want that to happen. So let's connect ourselves to the YouTubes, to the locals, to our friends on the Rumbles, and to Telegram. Amazing, it's working. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about Donald Trump's trial, day one. We are back in the case involving E. Jean Carroll, also known here as Miss Bergdorf, for allegedly getting Bergdorf by Trump in a dressing room in a place called Bergdorf's, actually. And so we're going to go through this because Trump is back in trial. Now, they're going to say, the judge is going to say there is no allegedly. There's going to say Trump absolutely did assault this woman, gave her the old DJ diddles with the fingers, you know, rather than the hibbity-dibbity with the other thing. That it all took place. Donald Trump has already been found liable for defamation and for the actual assault. And today we're back on a second defamation trial because they're saying, well, you did the thing, and now you're saying you didn't do the thing. And so New York allows this lawsuit, or allows them to proceed here. And so Trump is being sued, and the trial started today. You're going to see Trump's motorcade brought him there. He showed up in person today. And E. Jean Carroll, the same woman who's a little bit questionable in terms of her credibility, was also there in person. Now, the Second Circuit came down and said that Donald Trump does not have immunity in this case. That one just dropped fresh out of the oven today, very short order. So we'll just read the page on this. But Trump was trying to say that I'm immune, right? I said these things when I was the president. Immunity extends. This is a civil case. And so it extends into this, even though this is conduct that, you know, never happened when Trump was president. It's happened like 20, 30 years ago, whenever it was. So we're going to see what the Second Circuit said about that. It says outside the scope. And so immunity doesn't apply. Trump is also making a change. One defense attorney who we were familiar with here is Joe Tacopina. Now, Joe Tacopina was somebody who we heard from in trial number one. We covered all of the E. Jean Carroll stuff quite some time ago. And so he is now out. He is no longer going to be on the team. And this is the letter that he sent into the court. So we'll look at that. We've also got now Trump, the day of trial, okay, as they're all piling into this courtroom to talk about defamation. He was on Truth Social just going wild, man. It was a free-for-all over there. Something like 20, 30 posts from Trump, all blasting E. Jean Carroll. And just one right after the other. Oh, do you remember when she said this? Do you remember when you said that? Do you remember when she was talking about a tip that she learned from her dog related to intercourse? You know what I'm saying? So what the heck is going on here? So her credibility is not really there. We've talked a lot about her. She thinks that certain, you know, attacks on other individuals is like a sexy thing. And it's a wild situation. So we're going to go through all of that. We'll also hear what Nikki Haley says about this, because Nikki was asked about this by the media after she took third place in Iowa. Pff, loser. And so she is going to say, well, we'll see. You know, we'll hang around and see. And I don't know if she's really running for the vice presidency or what. But Joe Brezinski on the morning Mika show, he says that these courtroom things, you know, all these antics are really backfiring on us. It's like, this is just fuel for Trump. Every time we indict him, every time there is an additional, you know, lawfare or additional onslaught against him, he seems like he comes out more powerfully. Well, wake up, Joe. Welcome aboard. You guys should try indicting him again. Maybe that'll work. So we're going to talk about all that in the first segment, just to lay some foundation on what's happening in the trial, because there's a lot obviously going on here. And then we're going to jump right into the X script to see what is happening there, courtesy of Matthew Russell Lee at Inner City Press. He was there in the Southern District of New York, and he was tweeting, Xing, sorry, Elon, don't ban me. He was Xing away like a madman today. I mean, it was excellent, like really, really good, really detailed, lots of stuff. And so we're going to go over there and see what happened, because we got a jury has been seated. A jury is now in place, and opening arguments have already started. It's already on day one. So this whole thing might be wrapped up by Monday. So it's going to be fast. And so we're going to be covering it, of course, here. We also then, in our third segment, are going to talk about Fani Willis and her special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, who apparently was getting paid more than those other prosecutors. Now, yesterday, we went through a little aneurysm-inducing segment. We all lost IQ points as we listened to Fani lecture us from the house of God about how she's so confused about racism in America. Tell me, God, why are people inquiring into my antics? You know, well, it's because one of those antics is making bang bang with your special prosecutor. Well, turns out that special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, was billing people at $250 an hour, and she's told all of us that they were getting the same hourly rate. Lie, not so true there, Fani. Turns out one of the top RICO experts in the state, this guy, John Floyd, in his original contract, you can see he was getting paid $150 an hour, right? And this was the only white male in the whole bunch, okay? The female, she got $250 an hour. Isn't that curious? So Fani wants to make this all about race. Okay, how come the white guy's getting paid less? The white male, typical, you know, all right. Racism in Fani's office, not a surprise. And so we'll go through this, and it turns out Wade literally has very little experience. The Washington Post is even calling this out. They dug into it, and they said, you know, he's like a traffic ticket judge. Okay, with all due respect to traffic ticket judges, I mean, traffic court is, you know, I spent a lot of time there, man. It's an important court. That's where it all starts. Where do you think DUIs and drug seizures start? In traffic, right? Oh, pull you over for speeding or whatever. Oh, that's how we find all your stuff. Okay. Anyways, the point is, shout out to traffic cops, but Nathan Wade, that doesn't qualify. Not the traffic cops, to traffic court, where you fight against traffic cops. The point is, doesn't qualify you to run a federal RICO, a state felony RICO case against a former president. Kind of important case. So he's got very little experience, and even the Washington Post is calling them out. So we're going to go through all this and more, my friends. As you can see, we got 3 juicy segments to attend to today, and we're grateful that you are here. Now, this morning, we talked about on our members-only stream for our friends on Locals, our membos on YouTube, we talked about the big news of the day. Donald Trump came out victorious and very quickly in Iowa. And of course, that was a lot of fun. I sat down last night after the show and I was like, all right, let's get cozy. Let's see all these returns come in Iowa. I'm like, okay, got a sparkling water here. We got some dinner over here. Perfect. Open up the laptop. First screen is Trump declared victor. I'm like, well, that was quick. That didn't last that long. That was very satisfying, I'll say, but also very fast. You know, it happened very quick. Like, well, so I guess Trump won very massively. We debriefed the whole thing. We talked about what's happening with Vivek. We talked about what's happening with Nikki Haley and the rest of the crew, prognosticated about what's happening in New Hampshire. And so we love our membos. Our membos are amazing. Thank you, membos, for being amazing membos. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We do streams in the morning. We do Saturday shows. And we do after parties after the show is done here. So we wrap up and we go debrief over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. If you join us on YouTube, don't forget you can join us on Telegram for the after party. Everything else is native on YouTube, but join us for the after party on Telegram. Navigate over to the community tab section, scroll all the way down, grab the private members only Telegram link, and we'll see you there. We also have our website, robertgovea.com. If you want to read any of the PDFs that we cover here on the show, or if you want to access the mind map that I'm going through right now, robertgovea.com is the place to do that. We've got our show reports, which are published there. You can sign up for the newsletter by clicking this blue button. You can read all the PDFs. You can read the summaries of the show. This is everything that we talk about, all consolidated in one place at robertgovea.com. And so thank you for checking that out and signing up for our newsletter. And of course, when you sign up for our newsletter, you have our full permission to forward it to everyone you've ever met or ever known, to tell them to come and join our show. All right, thank you for that. All right, now let's get right into the meat and potatoes on the day, my friends, starting with Trump. Donald Trump destroys E. Jean Carroll's credibility on day one of the trial, and he does it on his Truth Social account. She was in court. Donald Trump was in court. We're here for the second defamation trial. They're saying Donald Trump said some things that he shouldn't have said about E. Jean Carroll. this woman who we've seen before here on this channel. Now, there was a trial previously where the jury ruled that Donald Trump gave the old DJ diddles in a dressing room at Bergdorf something like 20 years ago, but found that Trump was not liable, did not do the more serious offense, the R offense, the old hibbity-dibbity with the other thing. So one was with the fingers, the other was with the other item. And they say that the more serious allegation did not happen, which is interesting because E. Jean Carroll said that it did. So the jury found she was not credible about that allegation. Why they found that she was credible on the other allegations, I'll never know. But probably because they just felt bad for her and they hated Trump. They wanted to give away something. But my point is, even the first trial was lacking in credibility. We're going to hear more about who this woman is. We're going to see today Trump arrived in person this time. He was not present much at the last trial, but he is there today. We've got a mandate that came down from the Second Circuit. We'll have some updates, but Trump was on Truth Social just repeating a lot of E. Jean Carroll's own words against her. And they had a field day about this in court, which we'll get to because both the plaintiff and Trump's defense commented on this, kind of her words. And they're saying that we need to stop Trump from doing this. We need to shut Trump up. In fact, Roberta Kaplan, E. Jean Carroll's lawyer, said, how much money is it going to take to shut him up? Right? He has a lot of it, so you got to make it hurt. We're going to get reaction from Joe Brezinski on the morning Mika show, and we'll also hear what Nikki Haley has to say about it. But this is the scene as Trump showed up. You can see his motorcade is piling into the Southern District of New York where all this is taking place. And this comes right on the heels of a big victory in Iowa. So he was busy. He was out there giving a big speech, clocking in 51% of the vote there. Nice showing, and done in about 10 seconds. Polls open, polls closed. Trump's the winner, done. And so now he hopped on a plane and now he's back over here in New York. Not a lot of movement here, not a lot of activity. Just to set the mood. Streets are plowed, looks a little cold out there.
How do you know what car he's in? Me neither. Let's turn this one.
All right, looks a little cold, but they are piling in. So that is the scene in New York. And we also have another arrival. E. Jean Carroll is there on the scene. We have a couple versions of this. Here, this is the same woman. We're familiar with who she is. She was awarded about $5 million. They actually awarded her more money for defamation than the actual DJ diddle, than the assault, which is wild. So, in other words, they said that Trump owed her less money for the assault than he did for calling her a liar. Interesting priorities. But here is E. Jean Carroll walking in. Her lawyer is right there behind her. That's Roberta Kaplan. We're familiar with her. Same lawyer who's been around for a while. Now, a lot of people are cheering her on as she pours in. You can hear in the background, people are saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." You can hear it in the background. I'll play another clip. And as she was walking in, let's see, there was this other angle where people are just elated to see her. Okay, they have really not much of a life. And so what they do is they go and they support their anti-Trump icons. And look at all these people. I don't know what they're doing today. I mean, I think they're supposed to probably be working or whatever, but they don't care. They're going down there and they're going to support E. Jean Carroll because she is working to take out Trump. Listen.
We love you. Thank you.
You guys have to cross the street. You guys have got to cross the street. Guys, come on. Guys, come on. Thank you.
You're a hero.
Get a job! All right, so there's the motorcade coming in. And there's a lot of activity there. Obviously, that's what it looked like on scene. So that came over from Bloomberg as well. Now, we also saw that today we had the petition. Donald Trump was saying, look, I should be immune from this. Okay, I was the president. And the Second Circuit came out and said, no, that's not actually how this is going to work. And largely because of the following. They say, it is hereby ordered that the July 5th order of the district court is affirmed. Why? It rejects Trump's presidential immunity defense, and it denied his request for leave to amend his answer. Affirming all of this, it says it struck Trump's immunity and the immunity defense from his answer to the amended complaint. And so this order is dismissed and it's remanded back to the district court for further proceedings. And so Trump doesn't have immunity as the president. Now, you can see why this one might make sense. Okay, things that happened 20 years ago in a dressing room at Bergdorf's, that's not within the confines of the presidential office at all. Not within the outer perimeter at all. It has also happened before he was president, before he was even thinking about being president. So they're keeping that separate in scope. Now, the statements that he made were probably in contemplation of being president, right? I don't know the exact time of his statements, but they were made in contemplation of being president, or to defend his role as the president, or to defend his credibility as the president. But they're still saying that it's related back to another issue, and so that's too far removed from the executive duties. And so you see how you could distinguish that from the other immunity case, which is currently pending in the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, not the Second Circuit, which is where New York is. So that is what came down. So all that means is trial's on. Okay, Trump's case is not being dismissed, and that was to be expected. But we also saw that Donald Trump's prior attorney is now gone. New York Times posted this, says, Trump lawyer withdraws. This guy, Joe Tacopina, who was around for the first trial, not around anymore, said that he is no longer representing Trump. Sent a notice in, and it was a pretty simple notice. Let me just share what that looked like with you. You can see just a very simple letter here from Joe. Your Honor, I write to respectfully inform the court that my firm, Chad Siegel, and I hereby withdraw as counsel for Donald Trump in this proceeding. And actually that, I think, might have been a different case. Let me go back to this article and see what this article says. Here, this says, Mr. Tacopina also withdrew from another case, there you go, an appeal of the verdict, so 2 cases, okay, so he's off 2 cases. No longer going to represent him in his criminal trial with Juan Mercan. So the one I just showed you was for the Alvin Bragg case. Tacopina also withdrew, he's off 2 cases now, from the one on Monday, from the one with E. Jean Carroll, which is happening now. Trump was already fined $5 million, sanctioned, found liable for that to pay her damages. Now, it's not clear why Tacopina withdrew. He declined to comment. Now, this comes as Trump enters into 2 other cases. Asked for comment, Trump spokesman Stephen Chung, spokesman for Mr. Trump, did not directly address this, saying, you know, Mr. Trump has most experience, most qualified, discipline, and overall the strongest legal team ever assembled as he fights various cases, which he slammed his partisan efforts, obviously true. But the team has shrunk. Tacopina, a pugnacious New York defense lawyer, has a long history of wins, represented a lot of high-profile people, ranging even from Fox News' Sean Hannity, and calling him one of the best defense lawyers of all time. Now, the withdrawal comes just 1 day before jury selection starts, and of course, that's where we're at now. And so we're going to jump into that here in a second. But first, Trump blasts E. Jean Carroll. And I want to go through this because this is important context. Now, the judge is going to keep a lot of this out. The judge is going to say, no, you don't get to talk about whether you did it or not. We have this concept in the law called res judicata and collateral estoppel. It's essentially, you can't relitigate something that's already been litigated if it's kind of the same parties and the same issues and stuff. It's to preserve judicial economy, to think of it that way. And you don't want, you know, split rulings and stuff like that. So the judge in this case is saying Trump doesn't even get to debate whether there was an assault, whether there was a DJ diddle, or whether anything happened in the dressing room. That has already been settled. It's already done. So we don't get to relitigate that. What we're relitigating now is Trump's new statements, okay, whether Trump made new statements about that thing that they say actually factually happened, and whether Trump's statements about that were defamatory or not. So that's it. We're only on this like second part of this. So Trump came out, since he's not going to be able to talk about any of that stuff, whether what actually happened in Bergdorf, so he can't testify to any of that. He came out and posted a bunch of stuff on Truth. And let's take a look at what some of these look like. And there were a lot of them. Now, this is what he retruthed just some time ago. He said on Truth, Trump, can you believe I have to defend myself against this woman's fake story? Here's 20 seconds.
People think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Okay, so I don't know if that video is supposed to play.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not.
Okay, so I don't know why that video wasn't
People
playing.
think of rape as a.
But anyway, she did say that, right? She says some people think of rape as sexy. And Anderson Cooper, he actually was like, what are you talking about, lady? This is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. And here is that exchange, I think. Yeah, here was the full exchange here from Cooper with E. Jean Carroll. This is the woman who's accusing Trump of this attack. What?
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished. Which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Yeah, so are you, weird lady. Okay, so Coop is like, cut it, man, cut it. All right, he's like, cut it. Somebody's in his earpiece. Cut it. We got to go to a break. Cut it right now. And yeah, he looks a little uncomfortable, doesn't he? In this whole thing here. Let me move myself out of the way. He's like, you're weird. Like his head, his body language. He's like pulling away from her. Just getting away from her. Just like, oh gosh. E. Jean. What? What are you doing? Here's Coop. What are you doing? Gross. What are you talking about? All right, cut it. Cut the feed before she says she loves to get, whatever. So we'll just leave that there. Now, Trump posted that, right, in that video you saw over on Truth Social. Now, he highlighted this one again.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished. Yeah. Which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations.
Well,
this was not sexual.
Okay. She also apparently said this. Trump posted this. Says everything interesting, says E. Jean Carroll. This is from her account, January 6, 2014. So a long time ago. But this is the type of, person. Says everything interesting on Twitter is about sex. Okay. So are you just one of those people, E. Jean? Like, those people. Like, this is all they're just obsessed with it for whatever reason, They just can't help themselves. It's the only thing they talk about. Here is E. Jean Carroll. She says, here's a sex tip that I learned from my dog. Says, when in heat, chase the male until he collapses with exhaustion, then jump him. That was in 2010, a long time ago. She says, which was along the same, this was a long time ago too, these allegations, by the way. So this is her kind of mindset. From 2015, she says, E. Jean Carroll, how do you know your, quote, unwanted sexual advance is unwanted? Until you advance it. Oh, right? Almost like you want, to be attempts made at you or something, right? Interesting. Very interesting. Here's another one. She posted this in 2011, says, would men have invented chastity belts, veils, and crocs if women weren't just unbelievably hot? Honey, You were born to seduce. Here's another one from Trump. In bed, would you rather be called, quote, normal or, quote, unusual? Looks like these are Facebook posts. All right, it's talking about that again, like obsessed with it. Here's another one. Really, does any woman like performing that on a man? Does any woman really like it? Okay, it's like, gosh, 143 comments. That's what they're debating. I love it. I don't love it. All this stuff. Okay, nice contribution to the conversation. Here, E. Jean posted this. How much pornography should a man be allowed to watch every day? And she puts allowed in quotes. 60 comments in there. It's like, what are you talking about? It's degeneracy. Here's another one. In bed, there's another one. Normal or unusual? I don't know, E. Jean. Here's one. Let me make sure I can share this one. Yeah, okay. So this one, I think there's no nudity here. Let me make sure there's no genitals. All right, good. Says, E. Jean says, quit asking me to have porn sex. What is that? I pretended to like it, quote, but I didn't. And then there's a weird image of, I don't know what that is. Here's another one. She posted this one with an upskirt. There's an upskirt under the skirt right there. I'm not going to scroll down here, but there's an upskirt. She says, the best sex toy is your brain. Again, talking about this stuff constantly. That was in April 2015. Here's another one. She posted this one 2013. What can be done about the small Schiff? It gets large when you want it small and stays small when you want it large. Okay, so I think that's a penis joke. I don't know. She says, a chap is not a mind reader. Show him what you like, or he will soon regret he even has a wiener. Okay, so E. Jean. All right, here's another one. Whoa, she's talking about the back door. She says, are you behind it, or is it now what it's cracked up to be? The girl wants her chap to stop asking her for this stuff. What the heck? E. Jean Carroll? The heck is going on over there? Now here, Trump had some commentary. He says, the only right, honest, and lawful thing that this judge, Lewis Kaplan, who we're going to hear from soon in the next segment, who has so far been unable to see clearly because of his absolute hatred of Trump, me, the only thing he can do is end this un-American injustice being done to a president of the United States who was wrongfully accused by a woman he never met, saw, or touched, and a photo line doesn't count, and knows absolutely nothing about, right? Trump said, I never met her. And you're like, well, what about this photo? He's like, I take photos with a lot of people. That's not meeting them. And they said, well, you met her. Now, I have been considered an A-list celebrity for decades, says Trump. And so and they're going to say, this is defamation. Okay. They're going to say, Trump, that's a defamatory statement. You never met her. Yes, you did. We already found that you did. We already found that you DJ diddled her in a dressing room at Bergdorf 20 years ago when this demented woman was making up insane things on her, social media because she was a sex-obsessed freakazoid and knows absolutely nothing about it, right? They're going to say, oh, see, that's defamation. They're going to sue him again for another $1 million. Now, I have been considered an A-list celebrity for decades. And so even decades ago, since no one knows which date or dates to refer to, because she just doesn't even have any dates where the Bergdorfing allegedly happened, because the accusing woman can't say the day, the month, the season, or the decade. They don't even know the year. It would have been impossible for me to walk into a crowded department store surrounded by buildings that I own, right opposite the cashier's checkout desk, without being written about on page 6 and every other outlet at the time. Remember, those gossip columnists were perhaps even more vicious and even more obsessed than the internet is today. And that's part 1 from Trump. He says, here's page 2. E. Jean changed her false Monica Lewinsky type story on the dress, which she taunted us with after it was proven the dress had no connection to me. They're going to say, oh, that's defamation. She has been, quote, all over the place on the timing of this alleged incident, which never took place, and is being coached by lunatic radical left Democrat operative called attorney Roberta Kaplan, who we saw walking into court, who has sued me before and just lost. I'm the only one who has been injured by this attempted extortion. E. Jean Carroll, who was down on her luck and failing in life, nastily calling her African-American husband an ape, which she did, by the way, and I think they kept that out of the first trial. I can't remember that. Extremely racist. And they thought that the jury maybe should hear that because this woman's kind of, not well in the head. And the judge, well, that's a little too provocative. We can only tell her about the bad things that Trump did, tell the jury about what Trump did, but not about what she did. And her cat's name was called Vagina. All right. I just have to say it. Now, has gained money and fame she's so badly wanted. Now, it is my duty to America to right this egregious wrong. Now, a case which was started based on no facts, no dates, no nothing, just fabricated lies and political shenanigans. Says my lawyer said in the first trial that Judge Kaplan should have put them together, these two, that it was beneath me as the president of the United States and leading candidate to assume office again with her having no evidence, facts, or credible story, or even knowing when the so-called act took place to attend the first trial. They didn't want him there. So Judge Kaplan should put this whole corrupt, crooked Joe Biden directed election interference attack on me immediately to rest. He should do it for America because a president was accused of doing something he did not do by an unknown to him woman seeking fame, fortune, and publicity for her ridiculous book. Boom. Okay, so that's another lawsuit. Okay, Trump's going to be sued again for that right there. Just brace yourself for that one. Now, here we see some more posts, and Trump's on a tear. He says, by the way, Reid Hoffman, who is the co-founder of LinkedIn and a critic of Trump, has helped pay for E. Jean Carroll's lawsuit. He's just been the funder for this. Hoffman's disdain for Trump is no secret. By the way, Reid Hoffman was all around Jeffrey Epstein, island, plane, whole thing. Hoffman's chief political advisor said the goal is to stop Trump. That's exactly what he does. Byron York had a conversation with this guy, said he's profoundly anti-Trump. Question to him was, are you currently paying your counsel's fees? This is a contingency case for E. Jean. Here's what Carroll said. Okay, so you're not paying expenses, anything out of pocket, is that right? Well, I'm not sure about expenses. I have to look it up. Is anyone else paying your legal fees? No, she said. Wrong. Wrong. That's not true. Reid Hoffman has been coming out of pocket to pay for these fees for quite some time. Now, Trump is just, post after post about E. Jean Carroll, backed by Democrat mega donor, right? It's a Democrat hit job. And by the way, they changed the statute in New York so that this claim could come through. And it has. Here's Trump saying, thank you, Vivek. It's a great honor. That's back to Iowa. So you can see Trump was on a tear today, just one after the other. Boom, boom, boom. Saying this woman is fake. Here, Vanity Fair wrote about her. They said the E in E. Jean Carroll stands for Elizabeth. This is what they wrote. A name that she gave herself after growing up as Betty Jean. She lives in a cabin that she calls the Mouse House, surrounded by trees with trunks that she's painted a striking shade of blue. Wow, she's so unique and spunky. When she embarks on a road trip, she drives in a Prius named Miss Bingley, and she leaves behind her cat called Vagina T Fireball. Isn't she just so fun? She's so energetic and out there. Now, other Facebook posts also uncovered talked about why she said, oh, she's talking about wieners all over the place. Constant wiener obsession. I don't know why. It says here, in the last week, you've gone to living a pretty private life. Now you're in the public eye. What's that been like, E. Jean? She says, oh, it's been fabulous. It's been buoyant. It's been almost merry. Loves it. This irrelevant writer is suddenly now the topic of everybody. As I walked to somebody on my phone, I was talking to them on the phone. A man just stood in front of me bowing as I talked on the phone. What a freak. What a weirdo. She said it was amazing. It was like he was standing in front of Queen Elizabeth. She's like, I'm so famous now. Weird. And who is this dude who's bowing in front of her? Like, is he all right? Is he on fentanyl? Is he one of those guys in San Francisco or here, Van Buren? Gosh. All right. Weird. So she loves it. Here's another one from Vanity Fair. She said, well, in the book, you call yourself a hideous woman. Is this true, E. Jean? Tell us about that. She said, oh, I was bad. I was bad. Why? Because you flashed a professor? she says. Well, he was the most popular professor on campus, so adorable. He went on to Washington to become quite a big deal. He was the golden boy. He was in the Ballantine Hall lecturing. Ballantine Hall is the largest auditorium campus at the time. I had the temerity to walk on the stage in a trench coat and dark glasses. I opened my trench coat, wearing a bright yellow bikini, and to flash that man 4, 5, 6 seconds. He could barely stand up. He was probably retching. Yeah, probably puking his guts out. Now, if a man did that today to a female professor, I hope they'd be in jail, obviously. Yeah, I mean, yeah, clearly. So I put myself on the hideous list. Now, he married a friend of mine. Do you feel guilty looking back on that later? She says, no, I laughed my butt off about it. It was great. Okay. So that's who we're dealing with. All right, so that's from Trump. A bunch of different posts. Let's see if there's anything else good. Oh, yeah, Vanity Fair says, hey, Eugene, you also confessed to sexually harassing Roger Ailes. Is this true? You sexually harassed Roger Ailes while you had a show on his cable channel called America's Talking. He's also on your list of hideous men, but you said he was once a friend, right? She says, oh, yeah, I did it. You sexually harassed Roger Ailes? Yeah, I did it every chance I had. I call him the pearl of his sex. Right on the air, I told him that. I roll up my trouser legs. What? I would wait for the camera to come over. And then I would slowly pull up to the right, and then the left trouser leg, it would say Roger Ailes on her leg. What? She wrote it down here, and she'd like pull it up, like rolling it back, like the R, roll it back past the O, then to the G. It's like Roger Ailes, like up towards her genitals? What a weirdo. Said, I would say he's my future husband. It never stopped. I'd ask him to twirl for me. I adored him. Okay, so she's just mental, obviously. He's on your list of hideous men. This is like workplace stuff. She's okay sexually harassing Roger Ailes. It's like, look, I don't know if they had this type of relationship. Like, you can understand, like, maybe two people have kind of a weird relationship or whatever. This is not this, okay? This is like something weird. Here, what makes a hideous woman as opposed to a hideous man? Is there a difference? She says, no, I don't think there's a difference. If you're a hideous woman, you're a hideous woman. What I did was wrong. And hideous women are hideous. So Trump on a tear, just absolutely blasting what this woman is. And her credibility is, of course, shot. Now, this is a great montage, just if you had any doubts about this. This ultimately came over from Grabian, and Grabian does great work on assembling montages. And so here's just an excerpt before we get into some reaction from Nikki Haley and others, and then jump into the X script of day one in the next segment. We're going to hear a little bit more from E. Jean. This is what she sounds like.
Charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there. But for the women down there, and for the women actually around the world.
And it was all fairly playful.
It was charming. It was exciting. Remember what Donald Trump was like in 95, 96. On the counter were these fancy lingerie boxes that they used to have back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You wore lingerie in the 90s, I'll bet, Joy. Well, he didn't suggest it. He shouted it.
He shouted
lingerie. Lingerie. He may have shouted underwear. Okay.
Were you scared? Were you
angry? I was too panicked to be scared.
Too panicked to be scared, okay.
Totally, and I put my life on the line.
Do you think that you're going, well, hold on a second. What do you mean you've put your life on the line?
Well, people have told me I have to be careful.
You've gotten death threats.
I am not looking at death threats. I have the idea that I'm going to make him put it on over his pants. That was my idea. Mm-hmm. You see how funny that would be to make him put that on? Yeah.
I guess my question is could there be any DNA on there?
I have no idea. I do not know if the president ejaculated. I have no idea. Lawrence, I wish I had said, I'll tell you my age if you show me your tax returns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been helpful now.
Well, so I'm holding my handbag like that. The only reason I know I'm holding my handbag is because I discovered it in my hand when I got to the street.
The statement that he said, which he's just made, which is, she's not my type, number one, that was the number one thing.
I love that I'm not his type. I'm an archer. I have bows and arrows, you know. Yeah, fine. I think they're just too, never mind. Never mind.
I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll.
Okay, so very strange conversation happening there with E. Jean Carroll and everybody in the media. Okay, they just take this troubled woman and they parade her all over the place because she's going to say good things for their side. They're going to say she is going to take out Trump. So it really doesn't matter what she says, as long as she can keep it together for this little segment. It's going to be useful for us. So we're going to hear from Nikki Haley. Then we're going to hear from Joe Brezinski. And then in the next segment, we're going to jump into the trial excerpt from Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee. But this is what Nikki Haley said after coming in third place in Iowa like a total loser. She says, you know, we're going to just wait and see. And this is a little, interesting exchange from Nikki. The first time I listened to this, I think that she's actually being a little less aggressive towards Trump. Actually, we'll wait and see. He's innocent, proven till guilty. All of that. Here's Nikki.
You're the only woman in this race. How do you feel about your party's front runner being held liable for sexual abuse?
I mean, first of all, I haven't paid attention to his cases, and I'm not a lawyer. All I know is that he's innocent until proven guilty, and when he's proven guilty and he's sitting in a courtroom, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You've got investigations on Trump and Biden.
But a lot of people, forgive me, but a lot of people in the Republican Party blow it all off and say
it's rigged.
It's all a witch hunt and
a shame.
I think some of the cases have been political. This one I haven't looked at, but look, if he's found guilty, then he needs to pay the price. He needs to do what he's supposed to. Every one of these cases, they need to be heard out. He needs to defend himself. If he is found guilty, he's going to pay the price. If he's not found guilty, then we move forward. What I will tell you is
that's not right. I mean, it is technically right, I guess, but it's the wrong answer. Yes, if he's found guilty, he'll do what he needs to do. If not, he's going to do what he needs to do. Okay, that's brilliant analysis. I guess that's technically true. My point is, she is not really commenting on the process, not saying, well, what is happening is illegitimate or that it is legitimate. She's just, we'll wait and see. Really, that's her whole answer here.
I'm focused on the economy, the border, and education, and getting our country back on track. If he's sitting in a courtroom, that goes back to what I'm saying. We can't continue to be distracted. We can't continue to be in chaos. We have a country to save.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can see how that answer is consistent with her gunning for the VP spot. She didn't say anything that was really bad about Trump. She didn't endorse Trump. She just kind of said, we don't need the distractions anymore either. So if Trump put her on the ticket, for example, I really hope that he does not. But if he did, she could just turn around and say, yes, this is a political witch hunt. This is chaos that's being introduced against Trump. And she didn't say anything there that I think actually hurts her, which makes me think that she is maybe shifting her strategy a bit towards that VP slot. So that's Nikki Haley. Now over on the Joe Brezinski show that is run by Mika on Morning Joe, they're calling this out accurately. They're saying, hey, this is something that is fueling Donald Trump. Every time he gets indicted and there's a new case, there's a new trial, there's a new motion, a new filing, a new appeal, he comes out on top. Here is Mr. Joe Brezinski.
For Donald Trump, and if you look at the entrance polls yesterday, these Republicans say they don't care that he's in court. In fact, the fact he's in court today facing a woman that a judge says he raped.
No,
Donald.
No, that's wrong. That's misinformation, buddy. First of all, it was a jury and they said Trump was not liable for that at all. So are you going to correct the record there, Joe? It was DJ Diddles. Okay, not the old hibbity-dibbity.
Trump is there because that's the best political fuel he can get. That's how twisted things are in the personality cult. And he's going into these courtrooms because of the grand spectacle, because it helps him, because 65% of Republicans in Iowa say if he's convicted, they still want him to be his president. And there's 20% in another poll.
Look at those numbers. How beautiful is that? If Trump is convicted, is he fit to be president? Yeah, 2/3 say yeah, he is. He's fine. Yeah, we don't. First of all, we think that your so-called conviction is irrelevant, and everything that is coming against him is lacking in credibility. And so, yeah, he's absolutely fit to be president. Punks.
In the Des Moines Register NBC poll, the 20% said the fact that he's indicted or that he's found guilty and a judge says that he raped a woman, that makes him more
Judge never said that, liar.
Likely to vote for him.
Okay, yeah, well, it is. It's because you guys keep making up lies, and it kind of irritates us, which is why we say, okay, well, if you're going to keep lying and making up stuff, in addition, first of all, this is all a weaponized. New York changed the statute so that E. Jean Carroll could bring the claim in the first place. Whole thing is being funded by Reid Hoffman to the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars. He has a background in palling around with Jeffrey Epstein, so don't spare me the fact about sexual victimhood, right? He doesn't care about that at all. And this is now being prosecuted by a judge and by well, we've covered the case at length. The judge was very disfavorable to Donald Trump, had a strong bias against him and Joe Tacopina in the first trial. It was kind of shocking to even hear it. But it's the same judge. He's back on the case again. So, and even with all of that being rigged as it is, they still have to make up crap. Isn't it wild? He still has to come out here and say, the judge found that Trump raped somebody. Not true at all. Wrong on both counts. Not a judge and not that charge at all, Joe. So they just lie, okay? And that's just the media for you. So this is Trump. Now, this is the foundation for Trump trial day one. A lot of stuff. We now know what the status is. We now know we've got new lawyers on the case. Immunity has been denied. We're going to jump over into the next segment. So come and join us for the next X script, which is going to be day one of the trial. And so we're going to continue and get right to it. E. Jean Carroll versus Trump, trial day one, but this is the second trial. In this case, Donald Trump has already gone up against E. Jean Carroll some time ago. We covered it at length here, and we laid the foundation in a prior segment talking about everything that is happening as we enter day one. But now we jump right into the X script transcript thread, courtesy of Matthew Russell Lee, our friend at Inner City Press on the X platform. And he has been doing just an outstanding job chronicling everything that has been going on. And so you can follow him over at Inner City Press on the X. You can support his work. I have retweeted his post on the day. And so be sure to follow him for great, great coverage. Now he is reporting. Trump trial, day one. Courtroom is in session. We're waiting for the judge to enter the courtroom. Trump is there, seated at the table. Trump leans over at the defense table. He's talking to his lawyers, whispering in his ears. E. Jean Carroll, seated at the front table, has not turned around to look at him. Trump says, "Is that really her? Gosh, she looks even worse than I thought. Can we object to that?" His lawyer says, no, relax, hang on. Still no sign of Judge Kaplan. Everyone's looking around. But his deputy, Andy, was up front. Inner City Press and Andy are tight. Now he stepped out of the courtroom as well. And so Alina Habba is in the house. She leans forward to talk to Trump. She's looking fabulous. Then others, all at the lawyer's table, are conversing. Suddenly the door opens. All rise. Oh, it's the judge. Judge Kaplan comes down. He huffs and puffs. He sits down. Okay, please be seated. Judge Kaplan says, all right, we're back on the record here. We're on the record for this case. It's E. Jean Carroll as the plaintiff versus Donald Trump. Now, before we get to the jurors, says the judge, there are a few things I want to say. We're getting ready for jury selection. I trust that we can agree, says the judge to everybody, that I will ask the whole jury panel whether any of them are in a position where they cannot be fair, and then I'll excuse those who say yes. So I'm going to ask them all a bunch of questions. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. And if there's a problem, we'll excuse them. Anyone have a problem with that? No, no problems. No, that's fine with us, Judge. Thanks. Now, after I'm done with that, I want to explain, before we get into it, that each party Miss Carroll and Mr. Trump is now prohibited from trying to communicate to any juror unless the court and the other side have also been advised. And the court has given them permission to talk to these jurors. Now, no party can object to anything but except through their lawyers. So Trump, if you got a problem, talk to your lawyers and then they'll object. Same thing for you, Eugene. Now, the court has issued restrictions on how this case will be proceeding. And we've already covered some of this. Remember, Alina Abba, in a prior segment here, sent a letter into the court saying, Judge, my client, Donald Trump, might want to testify. And if he does, he wants to talk about all this stuff. And Roberta Kaplan for Eugene Carroll said, no, he can't talk because he's going to make up a bunch of stuff and it's going to be dangerous and it's going to detour the whole trial and all the things. And so there's been this back and forth. And so the judge says, well, we've issued restrictions. Now, Miss Abba, have you advised Mr. Trump of these restrictions? And Miss Abba says, well, Your Honor, we actually have issues with those restrictions that we'd like to discuss with you. We'd like to address those with you here today. Kaplan says, well, I'm going to hear you briefly on it. I'll listen to you. But that's the way it's going to be. So deal with it. The second Trump lawyer says, well, Your Honor, we have an appeal. And being here, we have forfeited our right to appeal to the Supreme Court. And Judge Kaplan just cuts him. Overruled. Overruled. Well, the decision in the first case is on appeal. And so we preserve the right. Overruled, says the judge. Overruled. Okay, guess not going to hear me on that one. That other lawyer continues, saying, Your Honor, the court has found that admitting the Anderson Cooper, you said it's overly prejudicial to Miss Carroll. The Anderson Cooper, you know, people think rape is sexy type of a thing. You said it's overly prejudicial to Miss Carroll. The judge says, well, I said a lot more than that about that tape. And the lawyer says, well, we don't know if the other two women will testify. Now, we also tried to include an expert witness here, but the rulings in the last 72 hours prohibit us from. Overruled. He's going, what the heck? I didn't even ask for anything yet. Alina Abba says, okay, thanks, Michael. Must be the name of the other attorney. Okay, thanks, Michael. You're not getting anywhere with this judge. Hang on. Abba sits him down. Says, let me try this for a second. Your Honor, how are we supposed to prepare if you keep doing this? Well, she says, the judge says, you have a witness list. Well, your order did not address the witness list, though, says Haba. Says, well, I'm not going to rule on it yet. The judge says, by the way, Alina, now in my courtroom, when the ruling is made, that's the end of it. Okay. She says, well, what about the funeral on Thursday? You know, I've never seen someone ever have to choose between being at a trial when they're being sued for millions of dollars and having to attend their mother-in-law's funeral. May Melania's mother rest in peace. My client flew through the night to be here. He was just winning victoriously in Iowa by 30 points. You see that, Judge? Kaplan says, you already asked for a week, Alina, and I denied it. Now, I have said if you rest your case by Thursday, then he need not be here. Now, we're going to continue the case the next Monday, and that's the allowance I'm going to make. So this repetition is not accomplishing anything. You're wasting my time. And basically, the judge is saying if Trump wants to, he can testify on Monday. They gave him that extension on Monday. He can come in and round up the case with his testimony. This is going to be a short trial. Abba says, Your Honor, I would like to proceed today and tomorrow and not on Thursday. I don't care. I've already ruled. It's the other lawyer says, Your Honor, it's also unnecessary to gag both parties during the trial. You know, you can tell the jurors not to read the media, but you can let us say what we want. The judge says there is no gag order. He says, oh, there isn't? So the parties are free to talk about the trial? He says, well, not in this courtroom you can't, or you can't talk to the jurors. Okay, fine. So we can talk about the trial. Great. So Abba says, all right, Judge Kaplan. So it sounds like you've made up your mind. On Anderson Cooper, you've ruled that we cannot play what she said about rape being seen by some as sexy. We can't play that. Kaplan says, well, I'll rule as the issues arise. Pipe down, Alina. Miss Kaplan, how long will your case take? Roberta Kaplan for E. Jean says, about 2.5 days. And Miss Abba, how much for you? Putting aside if Mr. Trump testifies, because he can come and do that on Monday. Well, she says, putting that aside, I would say our trial would be a day, maybe a day and a half. Says Carroll, Martin, and others, and so and so and so and so and so and so. And then Mr. Trump, it would depend if the other two testify. And the judge is apparently laughing, okay? The judge is like sitting up there smirking, Alina is talking about her witness list, and the judge is just like, okay, you're going to call this woman and this woman and this woman. The judge is probably thinking that they're not calling anybody, right? They're not going to call in. Like, shut up. You guys aren't putting on a case. Get out of here. Yeah, right. So Alina says, well, I see that you think that's funny there, Judge. Judge says, it's not funny. You want to call Martin, but they shouldn't? We should get to call her first, says Alina. Carroll's second lawyer comes in and says, yeah, we don't think she has relevance. Judge says, okay, so you can cross her if you don't think she's relevant, so you can cross her. So it sounds like if they want to bring her in, she's coming in. Is the jury pool not ready? He looks over. Carroll's other lawyer says, Miss Martin was cross-examined last time, Judge, on her views of Mr. Trump, so that's not permissible here. Kaplan says, well, I'll deal with it as it arises, okay? So we'll take a recess now. So they step out for a short break. Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee is reporting. While they take their recess, Trump is still at the defense table. Now, Judge Kaplan's out of the courtroom, and the prospective jurors are not yet inside. E. Jean Carroll's still in the courtroom as well. She's at the front table, and the judge is back. He walks back in. He had a little, donut crumbs on his robe. Judge Kaplan says, let's begin seating the prospective jurors. We're ready. So they say, okay, they're all standing. Everybody stands up. The jurors come back in. And then they're all looking at him. Thank you for your service. Okay, everybody's very cordial to the jurors. You guys are amazing. We love you here. Sorry you're here. Don't hate us. Please vote for our side. And now the gallery benches are also filled with jurors. Jurors are just piling in. So the courtroom deputy called Andy, shout out, we love our courtroom deputies and our court clerks, says, would all jurors please rise and raise your right hands at this time? All the jurors stand up. Right hands raised. Will you answer the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I will. Yes. So judge says, okay, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Says, I would like to advise you about the following. Now, this case, this is the judge speaking, is between a writer and an advice columnist. What kind of advice? I don't know if I'd take any of that advice. E. Jean Carroll and former President Donald Trump. Tells the jurors, we expect this case to take 3, maybe 5 days of trials, and we're going to sit today through all or part of Thursday. We're not going to be in session on Friday, and then we'll be back on Monday. Says, we need to find, ladies and gentlemen, a panel of you that is willing and able to decide this case fairly. Now, both parties have a right to excuse a limited number of jurors with any reason they want, and I don't want to embarrass anyone. That's why you might be asked to leave. And I can hear you at the sidebar if you have any reason why you can't serve. Says you're also going to be anonymous. I know this is a high-profile case, but don't worry. Tomorrow, those selected, you will be picked up at locations, and you're going to be driven into the underground garage. Now, I suggest that you consider whether it would be a good idea to use a name other than your own so other jurors don't know. Anonymize yourself amongst each other so that when people look you up at home, they don't know who you are. Now, this is for your own protection. Now, this case has attracted media attention in the past, and it seems it will again this time. Now, we want you to be protected from harassment and invasions of your privacy. So no cell phones, no posting anything on the internet, no reading anything on the internet. Everybody understand me? They're all nodding. Don't tell your family members and loved ones that you're even on this case. And the case is about this. Miss Carroll sued Mr. Trump for defamation in statements that he made in June 2019, when he was the president, after she accused him of having sexually assaulted her in the mid-1990s. The date, we don't even know. They just made it up. So Judge Kaplan says, Now, Mr. Trump denied knowing her and said she only made the accusation in order to sell a book. But for the purposes of this trial, it has already been determined that Trump did sexually assault Miss Carroll, and so the jury does not need to decide that. That's a nice way to begin your trial, isn't it? When the judge says, this person here that you're going to be ruling on, deciding about whether he owes millions of dollars, this court has already found he's a sexual assaulter. Now, this is a civil trial. Trump was never charged with crimes for this at all. And we know that in a criminal trial, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. You have things like DNA evidence and all sorts of stuff. This is all just a civil trial, so it's a much lower standard. More likely than not, preponderance of the evidence. They found that she's more credible on one count, which was the DJ diddle, not for the hibbity-dibbity stuff. The jury actually found that is the judge going to mention that? He could have. It has been determined that Mr. Trump already did assault her, but it's also been determined that Trump did not rape her. The jury found that even though she made that claim and that allegation, that wasn't true. So is the judge going to mention that? But the jury does not need to decide that, okay? So the DJ diddle's already happened. Now, Judge Kaplan says, Mr. Trump contends that Miss Carroll is entitled to only nominal damages, which is basically like $1, just meaningless. It's just token damages, and not to punitive damages. Now, I need to ask you, right? Punitive damages is to punish somebody to deter more bad behavior. So the judge says, I need to ask you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and however you identify, if the answer is yes, please raise your hand or stand up. And I'm not here to embarrass you, but I need to ask you this. Based on what I just told you, would you be unable to give both sides a fair trial? Now that I've just told you he's a sexual assaulter. Now, anyone in the jury box say yes, unable. He's looking around. Anyone. In the jury box, he says, okay, seat number 10, number 20, okay? And in the back, how about you? The man with the open collar, okay, got you. What's your number? Number 7. Thank you, sir. How about, what's this? Okay, number 9, you got it. Seat 40. Okay, thank you. Be seated. Now, those 3 jurors, number 20, 40, and 41, you're excused. Bye. Doesn't even inquire. Why can't you handle this? You're gone. Bye. Okay, next group of questions for the rest of the jury panel. Again, if the answer is yes, raise your hand or stand up. Judge Kaplan to the jurors. Does anyone personally know Miss Carroll or her family? Anyone? No hands. Anyone seen anything about her that would make it hard to be fair? No hands. Anyone had any dealings with Miss Carroll's law firm? One juror says, I did. Well, I work with them pro bono on a marriage equality issue. Judge says, I don't care about that. Okay, anyone personally know Mr. Trump or his family? No hands. Anyone ever work for Trump? Lady in the back raises her hand. Shout out. Says, in 2017, yeah, I worked for Ivanka Trump's company. Okay, judge says, well, could you be fair? Yes, I could. And how about you, number 36? Did you ever work for Trump? He says, well, I was a U.S. Navy officer. So he did work for Trump as the commander-in-chief. Now, would that impact your fairness, Mr. Navy officer? 36. No, sir, it wouldn't. Juror number 69 says, my father's moving company, we were the movers for the Trump companies when we did their buildings on the west side. How about you, sir? Could you be fair? Yes, I could. Has anyone volunteered for Mr. Trump's campaign? Says the judge. This juror says, I spoke at the White House and we do policy advocacy work. Remember, this is in Southern District of New York. Did you meet Mr. Trump? Only indirectly. Could you be fair? Yes, I could. And there's a lot of people, right? Trump has impacted a lot of people's lives. Look at these jobs that he's provided. Ivanka's Trump company, moving company, Navy, advocacy work, all over the place. E. Jean Carroll just makes wiener jokes on her social media. Tishy Lay Tish just runs for office. These people just tear stuff down. They're not builders. Trump is. Kaplan says, okay, does anyone know Mrs. Alina Haube? No one answers yes. What about Miss Crowley? You may hear testimony from or about Miss Crowley. Crowley, Bergdorf, Humphreys, Carroll Martin, Robbie Myers. Judge Abba says, well, Miss Martin is not on that list, correct? Well, that was unnecessary, says the judge. So prospective juror number 27 raises her hand and says, yeah, I know Robbie Myers. She's the editor of Elle magazine. I have my own company. Okay, so you know Robbie Myers. She might testify. Can you still be fair? Yes, I can. To the jurors, have you guys read or seen or heard anything about this case? Bunch of hands go up. 1, 9, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18. All raise their hands. Yeah, we know about it. Would this make you unable to be fair for anybody? No hands are up. How about in the back? Okay, Andy, could you read out the numbers of these people? So he reads the numbers. 20, 27, seat 21, blah, blah. Now, for those in the back, now, stand again if you've read, seen, or heard anything that would make fairness impossible. Anybody? No affirmative responses. Now, I'm reminded to ask Ms. Abba about her witnesses and places. President Trump and the other name was already said, Judge. You already got those. Judge asks another question. Have you heard about the previous case, sometimes called Carroll 2? No hands are raised. And raise your hand if you're registered to vote. Number 34. Are you enrolled in a political party? He says yes. Number 56 says no, I'm not. Here's another question. Judge says, raise your hand if you voted in the 2020 presidential election. Everybody raises their hands except 2. They're all raising their hands. The lawyers are scribbling this down. Here's another question, because they're getting ready to strike people. Did you vote in 2016 or 2020? Both. Only 2020, one says, then another. Last row, both. So they're asking, I voted in both, I voted in one, I voted in both, or almost all both. So lawyers are, okay, 2016, didn't vote in 2020, what does that mean? Okay, voted in 2020, didn't vote in 2016, what does that mean? Voted in both, what does that mean? Voted in none, what does that mean? Kaplan says, has anyone here contributed to Mr. Trump or his campaigns or his PAC supporting him? Someone says, yes, and I have family members who donated too. Shout out to that person. Now, Kaplan says, well, how about supporting a candidate who Mr. Trump supported? So they wrote that one down. No one responds affirmatively. So only one person, it sounds like, contributed to Trump or his campaign. Kaplan says, well, how about support to the campaigns of Obama or Hillary or Joe Biden? Hands go down. Now, how about for Joe Biden? Anyone back on the left gone to a rally? Number 3 says for Joe Biden. So I'm sure there's more than just one. Inner City Press is probably consolidating these. So it sounds like there were more people who donated and supported Trump. There were some people who voted and supported Biden. The numbers, we don't know. It's New York, we can guess. Kaplan says, anyone back on the left gone to a rally for Mr. Trump? 68 says, yeah, I did. Does anyone think that the 2020 election was stolen? Great question, Judge. 68 says yes. 69 says, yes, me too. So the judge is just trying to get rid of all the Trumpers, right? Now, unable to be fair. Are you unable to be fair? Anyone here unable to be fair? No affirmative response. Has anyone been a member of the Redneck Revolt? Has anyone ever been a member of the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers or the KKK or the Thin Blue Line or Trump supporters of New York? No to all the questions. Kaplan says, have any of you ever posted on Truth Social or Rumble? Rude, man. He's trying to tease this out so that they can just identify the Trumpers, the right-leaning people. No affirmative responses, which they should. They should be watching on Rumble too. What the heck? Have you seen any posts about Miss Carroll? 1863, they say, yeah, we have. Has anyone seen allegations of sexual misconduct by Trump? Stand up. Number 3 says, yeah, I've seen it in newspapers. 27 says, I've seen it on the TV. Has anyone seen news, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, of criminal indictments of Mr. Trump? Lots of hands go up. Everybody raises their hands. Yeah, I've seen it. Well, that's good because he's been indicted 4 times by his political opponents. Could anything that you've seen make you unfair about this? Number 18, number 63, they raised their hand. I got you down. What about number 63? Shall I excuse number 63? Both sides say, yeah, 63 can go. Okay, thank you, 63. Please give your card to Andy. Now, has anyone here ever regularly read Ask E. Jean, which is this so-called writer's apparently writing? No, no one says no. Who? Ask E. Jean? No, never heard of her, never seen it, not subscribed, do not follow. No. Anyone ever watch The Apprentice? Says the judge. Don't know. Is this enough time, lawyers? Anything you've seen today that makes you unfair? No. Anyone here formed any views on the credibility of Trump or Carroll that could not be put aside? No one raises their hands. Does anyone believe that presidential immunity covers this case? Well, if you do, it doesn't, okay? He can be sued. No one raises their hands. And for this trial, it has also been determined that Mr. Trump did sexually assault Miss Carroll, and he defamed her. So the trial that we're talking about, which is going to be talking about sexual assault and defamation, it's already been decided. Does anyone have a problem with that? Is anyone here someone who cannot accept that? It's like, what are we doing here? No questions. Like, no, perfect. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just do the same thing. Now, has anyone accused of or been accused of or accusing of unwanted touching or abuse? Have you been touched or are you touching? He says, lady in the back, what about you? She says, yeah, I'm fine answering this question. My ex-spouse was accused. Wow. Were you the accuser? She says, no, I can be fair. So that woman's got to go, right? Because her husband was probably falsely accused. And she says, no. Oh, my ex-spouse. Oh, well, the ex-spouse. No, maybe not. Maybe she's like actually on this. He was accused. She divorced him. So she'll be a good juror. Now, Kaplan says, okay. I instruct the jurors not to discuss this case on social media. Could anyone not resist the temptation? Any of you knuckleheads going to get on X? No affirmative response. Anyone here have a vision or hearing problem? No. Anyone here not speak English? No. Now, has anyone ever been the party to a civil lawsuit? This guy's 42, a male. He says, yeah, landlord-tenant cases with some family members. Can you be fair? Yeah. Female says, yeah, I had a suit against my co-op board, but I could be fair. Any of you ever serve on juries? This woman says, yeah, malpractice lawsuit. Another said hung jury in Baltimore. This guy said a sexual assault case. We got to a decision late 90s. 3 juries all came to verdicts. This guy says, I also served on a jury in the White Plains for something like this. Well, he said it was about writers. Something about not being available for the person, assistant, something like this. Some other female says, yeah, I was a juror on a robbery in a cold case. Judge Kaplan says, anyone here not jabbed? Oh, gosh. Please tell me your name. 69 says, my name? 69's like based. Okay, shout out to 69. He's not going to be on this jury. 69 said, he said the election was stolen, and so he did not get jabbed. He says, my name? Kaplan says, okay, pardon me. No, I'm not going to give you my name. Don't ask me about my jab status. Get out of here. So judge says, all right, counsel, please approach. This guy's getting a little ornery. Why are you asking about my medical status? So the attorneys now come up to the bench. There's a sidebar here. They turn on the silencers. It puts out white noise to drown out the noise. Will 69 and 68 be bounded by Team Carroll? We don't know. Now, here are some photos. Shout out to Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee reporting. See, it looks cold out there. Media's piling in. We're back. Juror 3, says the judge. You know, you said you did something for or Mr. Biden. What did you do with Mr. Biden? He says, I made phone calls. I was there at a phone bank. He says, well, you know, campaigns can, if they have enough money, hire people. Were you hired? He says, no, I volunteered. Does anyone feel in here that Mr. Trump is being treated unfairly by the court system? Please stand up, which is just great. Okay, just get rid of all those people for them. Now, number 68 in the back of the room. Okay, and in jury box 29 in seat A. Okay, got you both. So you think Trump is being treated unfairly. Thanks for identifying yourselves and being honest. Okay, the other side is not honest about those questions. They're not. They're not honest about a lot of these questions. That's how Derek Chauvin got convicted and others. Because people lie about their beliefs and their backgrounds to get on a jury to enact justice. Trump's people identify themselves. Yeah, I think he's being treated unfairly and this whole thing is a sham. Thanks for identifying yourself. You're now gone. And they come back for a break. Now, Judge Kaplan says, okay, now here's the time to find out a little bit more about you folks. Now, Andy, where do you want this microphone? Says, okay, now we're going to talk to you all individually here a little bit. And I want to ask you what the questions are, just so you know what's coming. Says, how old are you? Okay, that's optional. Let me know. Tell me about your county, your education, what you do for a living, and all the things. Let me know if you have any kids and whether you've seen any media about any of this. So they start calling them in one by one. This juror says, I lived in the Bronx for 60 years. I got one child working in finance. The other sells timeshares. I'm a retired MTA track supervisor. I watch Channel 7 at 6 o'clock. This one's 56, female, born in Germany, has 2 children. Worked for the German School of New York. Haven't looked at the news in the last year. Says, I learned about history, colonization to the present, and I learned about Germany. Judge says, Andy, can you crank up the volume here? I can't hear these people. This guy's 28. He does property management and Facebook. This person's 58, lives in Westchester, works in cybersecurity sales. Son's in the ROTC, reads the New York Times. This guy's 40, moved to Manhattan 2009. Before that, lived in Barcelona. He's from there. He reads Spanish newspapers. They're looking for Fox News, basically. This guy's 30, software engineer. His girlfriend's in New Jersey. He just scans the news. This woman runs a large-scale operations at a university. Operations of what? Well, she says students. This guy's 38, high school worker, works at Westchester for low voltage. He says, it's just a job. My fiance works at a bank's, and I get my news from TikTok. This female says, you can guess my age. No. My oldest is a litigator. My younger is in law school. She reads the Wall Street Journal. Female, 60 years old, teaches in Westchester. She's got 3 kids, one in the Army, another in finance, gets the news from all over the place. This male is a 46, a doctor, reads the Times. This woman is 68, has a degree in playwriting, so she probably has a love affair for E. Jean. Would relate to her. This voice says, I would work in underserved communities, female. This woman's 37, lived in Miami, publicist for big tech newspapers, 82-year-old male, therapist, and gets his news from YouTube. Shout out. This guy's a juror. He's 40, no kids, does post-production for TV. Another female who is a diversity officer for a large communications union. Oh, gosh. Maybe put that on the strike list. Here, this juror, native Manhattanite. I own my own communications firm. Female from Westchester, works in the town library. Children are graphic designers. And she listens to Pod Save America. Got to get her off there too. Okay, that's hard left. Judge says, let me hear that one again. God Save America? No, Pod. He's going to look that up. He'll probably like that one. This one's a female from Manhattan. She's a costume designer. This guy's 36 from Tribeca. He's a banker. Female, age 40, 2 kids, masters, board of education, male, corporate lawyer, multinational aggregator, multinational firm. He reads aggregators like Real Clear Politics. How come nobody watches Watching the Watchers? This is ridiculous. Where are they? And this one was streaming in media. This one is age, I don't know age, but a violinist, print media, another native New Yorker, single. This juror, she's probably upset about that. Nobody else was really talking about that. Yeah, I'm a native New Yorker and I'm single, in case anybody's wondering. I teach science. She's, oh gosh, this guy's a prosecutor and he lives in Manhattan. Get rid of him for sure. This person's originally from Israel, works in a tech company and has an MBA. This guy works in marketing. So do his sons. He says, I log into my email and I scan Yahoo. This person works in pharmaceuticals, is a scientist. Female, is retired. This guy is also single. Maybe juror, oh, well, she's female. So, all right. Well, maybe they're into it. I don't know. Maybe we can make a match here in Trump's trial. This guy's a performer. Now, he's in between jobs. And he gets his news from the internet. This person works at a big bank, gets news from social media. This guy's from Azerbaijan, Baku, and so on. Okay, a lot of people. We'll fast forward a little bit and says, juror, did you say you live in Queens? Did you say that? When did you get your jury notice? Why are you here? Counsel, may I see you at the sidebar? They go up to talk to the judge. And we are back. Okay, so they're up there. They're talking. They all come up. They've gotten through everybody. Retired teacher. Husband and I live in Manhattan. This male watches Fox News. Oh, gosh. They're going to have to get rid of him, too. So now the jurors are picked. We're back. Judge Kaplan says, Andy, please read out the jurors. Andy, doing a great job, says, okay. Okay, juror 34 is number 1. 56 is number 2. 28 is number 3. 21 is number 4. 23 is number 5. 6 is number 6. That person should play the lottery. Someone says, what are the odds? 66 is number 7. 82 is number 8. And 10 is number 9. We got 9 jurors seated. Judge Kaplan says, perfect. We're going to come back 3 p.m. with opening arguments. And we fast forward right to it. And we're back. Everybody's piling into the courtroom, except Donald Trump is not at the defense table. Where is he? A third of his lawyers start speaking. This guy starts talking, and Judge Kaplan cuts him off, one of Trump's lawyers. He says, are you a member of the bar of this court, sir? He says, no, I'm a member of the New York State Bar. We're in federal court. Well, then please sit down. You are not credentialed to be speaking in my court. You're done. He says, well, okay. That's not very nice. Now, the judge says, all right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are all here. Thank you for being here. 9 people are now seated. Says, I want to explain to you how this trial works. Now, the plaintiff, E. Jean Miss Bergdorf, she has the burden, he's explaining, to make the scales tip. But this is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which you think if there's any doubt that's based in reason, you are acquitted. It's a much lower standard. So if you want to use percentages, what we'll often say is like 80% and above certainty will meet beyond a reasonable doubt. But if it's 51%, like if it's more likely than not, that's the standard this judge is talking about. So he tells you, get rid of reasonable doubt. Okay, that's a high standard. Forget about that. Put that out of your mind. He says, a magazine published an excerpt that included Miss Carroll Bergdorf's account of being sexually assaulted by Trump in Bergdorf's. Now, Trump denied knowing Carroll and said she made it up for an improper purpose to sell some books. Now, there has been a prior jury decision, and some of which is binding on you. Mr. Trump, in fact, according to the prior jury, sexually abused Miss Carroll by inserting his finger into her vagina. The old DJ diddle. Now, he did not also tell the jurors that Trump was acquitted on the hibbity-dibbity charge. There was no R charge confirmed by that same jury, which is weird because that means they did not believe E. Jean Carroll. So they say, judge continues, so ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Trump's false statements were defamatory. You will decide if he should pay punitive damages. You shall not use social media, and you shall not use Twitter, now X. I expect you will tell me if another juror does. And so try not to form an opinion here until the end. Anybody have any questions about this? Good. Now, opening statements begin. And we start with the plaintiff. Miss Carroll? Carroll's lawyer named Sean Crowley, he takes the stand, the podium. Stands up and says, Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, may it please the court. He says, in the spring of 1996, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll. That's a fact. It has been proven. A jury sitting in the same seats as you found that it happened. Why are we here? E. Jean came forward in June 2019. Now, Donald Trump said he never met her, that she just made it up to make money. And he was president, and he used the world's biggest microphone against Miss Carroll. He told lies. That's already been decided, even though he was acquitted on the more serious charge. And the first trial was a total sham. They didn't even have the date at when this happened. Carroll's lawyer continues. So what are you here to decide, ladies and gentlemen? The question is whether Donald Trump's defamatory statements caused her harm. And if so, how much should he pay? This trial is only about damages. She had a reputation as a writer and an advice columnist, and he unleashed his followers against her. And I gotta be honest. I mean, she's probably made a lot more money with this whole charade than she ever made from her writing, right? Crowley, the lawyer, says, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see the threatening messages that she received. You're going to see that she lives every day in fear from the threats that she gets from his followers online. How much money will it take to make him stop? He didn't stop in 2019. He did it again in October 2022. And today he lies. Today, as Donald Trump campaigns for president, he continues to defame Miss Carroll. And we are proud to represent her here. Now, you're going to hear, ladies and gentlemen, from the former editor of Elle magazine. And Miss Carroll's going to testify. She's going to tell you that she grew up in Indiana, that she submitted her first article at age 12, that she was a beauty pageant queen. She wrote for SNL. She wrote this column called Ask E. Jean. And then Donald Trump assaulted her. And he did it in a Bergdorf's. They had met at a party with their then spouses. Now, here's a photo he puts up on the screen. In 2017, she took a road trip to write a book, listening to women about men. And it became a memoir, and the New York Magazine published an excerpt. And then Donald Trump, over the course of 4 days, issued baseless attacks against her. On June 21st, Trump, who was president, he claimed, I'd never met Miss Carroll in his life. He called it a disgrace. He threatened her, saying people should pay dearly for making stuff like this up. And then 4 days later, he lied again. Trump's lawyer jumps up. Objection! No damages are being sought for that second statement. Judge Kaplan says, I don't care. It's relevant to another issue, Mr. Amadeo, and you know that. So sit back down. Don't interrupt again. And now suddenly, after Trump's statements, Miss Carroll was branded a fraud. He spoke from the White House, Trump did, and many believed him, and they went after Miss Carroll. They bombarded him with threatening tweets. And within minutes, people amplified Trump on Facebook and on Twitter. They called her a liar. And now Trump's attacks have her living her life in fear and on the media circuits. And they ruined her professional reputation, which no one even knew about until now. You're going to hear from Robbie Myers of Elle magazine. She went from a respected columnist to being viewed as a political operative. Her dream was shattered. In October 2022, Trump told his followers that her story is a con job and a hoax. And so she sued him again. including for the sexual assault under New York state law. Now, that suit moved even faster in a 2-week trial that lasted last spring. And the jury found assault and defamation. But the day after, Donald Trump went on CNN again and called her a liar and a whack job. He lies even today. You'll hear that as Donald Trump faces trial, he keeps doing it. He sat here this morning and posted stuff on Truth that we read in the prior segment. He posted 22 times today. As he runs for president, he continues to defame her, which is weird because he's just like posting her own statements. I mean, that's what he posted on Truth. They were literally the things that she was saying in a lot of these, right? Here, these were her posts. So it's a curious thing for them to blame that on him. Now, there were some other statements he made, and they're going to, of course, say that that is defamatory. But let's get back to the transcript. Crowley's, which is Carroll's attorney, says, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's time to make Donald Trump pay. Time to make him pay dearly. Thank you. And so that, attorney sits down, whatever. Judge says, thank you. Okay, Miss Abba, you're up. And it's Alina. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I represent former President Donald J. Trump. This is about 2 statements. 2. The other side will attempt to paint Miss Carroll as losing everything. But President Trump defended himself when publicly accused, objection! Carroll's lawyers say he can't defend himself. He can't say that. He can't get into that. Kaplan says, don't go much further, Alina. Be careful. Alina says there were no damages. Okay, she was going to go down that road and she skips it. There were no damages, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Carroll's career prospered. She has been thrust back into the limelight like she always wanted. Her career was terrible and meaningless until now. She is here, and she has to prove that she actually suffered harm, and she's got to make it attributable to the 2 statements, 2. Now, she's going to allege 2 types of harm, compensatory damages and punitive damages, compensating someone for the harm and punishing them to prevent it from happening again. Now, this case is about defamation, not assault. You're not here to make her whole from the fingers in the DJ diddle. So Abba says, these days, the internet always something to say, and it's not always nice. Alina says, Miss Carroll waited 30 years when she was making less. Objection, they don't go down there. Why did she wait? That goes to the veracity of the claim, which they say is already true, so she can't go there. Objection, basis? Basis? He said, what's the basis for the objection? She waited 30 years. That's like almost going to the veracity of the underlying charge. But the judge overrules Carroll's lawyer. No, overruled. That's fine. They just said, says Alina, they just said he unleashed his followers. But before he spoke her name, she was being denounced as a liar. Now she wants Trump to pay for the mean tweets. Miss Carroll enjoyed controversial discussions in public. She liked that. She even wrote about frigid women. She wrote about a dog in heat. She wrote about men catching made easy. Mr. Right, right now. And she also said, what do we even need men for? These books featured her face on the cover. She moved from Montana to New York because the quiet life didn't suit her. Now, her career was dwindling, ladies and gentlemen. Back in 2014, nobody even knew who she was. And so she needed a spark. Even this book was not met with critical acclaim. Her interviews were about Trump, not the book. Even her close friends thought her head was getting too big. Abba says, it's no secret, ladies and gentlemen, that if you speak about President Trump, you are going to elicit reactions. Yes, they're going to be positive and they're going to be negative. But should Trump foot the bill for that? The evidence I will show you will show that Miss Carroll's conduct has caused this media frenzy. She chose the New York Magazine. If you make explosive allegations against a sitting president, any sitting president, not just Trump, you're of course going to spark a reaction. There were scores of tweets that were directed at her in the 5 hours after she posted her story in The Cut, which paid her, by the way, before any Trump statement ever came out. She was making a lot of money. She was enjoying the full attention. Now, we're going to ask Ms. Carroll to confirm that she felt that she was in a cocoon of love after the publication, which is what she said. She's become an advocate, and this has become a part of her identity because that was her plan, and she's going to continue on. This woman has gone on podcasts she couldn't have possibly have been on to increase her public profile. And so she's got a duty to minimize the effects of this damage. It's not my client's duty, it's hers. If she's being harmed by this, she's saying the exposure is harming me. Why is she showing up to podcasts? It's not my client's duty to minimize the harm to prevent her from going on podcasts. She's doing that herself. She spread the message far and wide. She was the catalyst of her own harm. Now, this is about a mean tweet from Twitter trolls, okay? That's it. She has to show that they are from my two client statements. Miss Carroll went on TV again and again and again, and she's got a duty to mitigate these harms. Miss Carroll has made Trump the focal point of her entire new identity. She's been monetizing this brand for years. She had plans to continue to do so. And her social circle has changed. She is widely regarded as an anti-Trump person. She hangs out with Mary Trump, who's a vocal critic of her uncle. She's got a new book, a romance novel, that's also being planned about this. This woman is friends with Kathy Griffin, for crying out loud. The same woman who had Trump holding a severed head. Now, I would not allow my child to post this, but it's her. Kathy Griffin holding a beheaded Trump. So she got what she wanted, ladies and gentlemen. And so it's up to you now. See through this charade. Tell her, just as they said, it is enough. This woman craves fame and has long before Trump wanted it. So they have to be able to prove to you that the harm that she's claiming she's got is because of those two statements that he said and nothing else. Now, they're not going to be able to do that. Their expert has never executed a reputation repair campaign. Now, they want President Trump to pay her money to pay social media influencers to post messages. It's severely flawed. I will walk you through it. Their expert ignored any positive that she has experienced, and their expert left out whatever doesn't serve their case. So Miss Abba continues. She says, Mrs. Abba, so why are we here, ladies and gentlemen? Your task is to determine. The judge will articulate what he wants you to determine. Now, Judge Kaplan says, no, the judge will not articulate what to determine, only the law. Abba says, I was trying to avoid an objection. Well, you did it again anyways. I objected. So she says, ladies and gentlemen, look, Miss Carroll wants another award. Your job is to give her more money. But regardless of a few mean tweets, she has more famous and become more famous than ever before. They cannot fulfill their burden, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you're here. And I want to thank you for your time. Alina Abba, looking incredible, turns around, walks back to the bench, and sits down. Judge Kaplan says, all right, ladies and gentlemen, jury, we're going to resume tomorrow. You guys are excused. Counsel, please remain here. Jury gets up. Everybody stands up. They walk out. Judge Kaplan says, anything else? Anyone? No? Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. We're adjourned. Everyone leaves. And my friends, that is trial day one. Trump trial day one. E. Jean Carroll filing the lawsuit, and we're back. And this great report came over from Inner City Press. We wouldn't be able to read any of this without Matthew Russell Lee. He's got an amazing Substack. You can see this, Matthew Russell Lee, icp.substack.com. Inner City Press does a great report, okay? And so he's there in Southern District of New York. Please make sure you're following him on X. Please go and subscribe to his Substack and go check out his work, because we wouldn't be able to go through this entire thread without his excellent excerpt. And there's really actually nothing like this really else out there. So it's really, really awesome. And we get to go through the trial the same day. Shout out to Inner City Press and Matthew Russell Lee. And so we are going to be here continuing to cover this, my friends, on day 2 and the rest of the trial. So wherever it is you're watching us, thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thank you for checking out robertgovea.com. We've got all of our reports that are posted there. We have our newsletter that's there as well. We're going to be covering all the Trump trial and the saga as it continues. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. All right, my friends, we got one segment on the day, and it's a big Fani segment. And here is the story. Fani Willis busted. Some of those contracts are now out. She told us that she paid all of her special counsels the same amount, and she criticized everybody from her church, saying this was racism, that no one's criticizing the other special counsels who are all being paid the same as Nathan Wade, her alleged lover. Turns out that's not true. Turns out one of them was actually paid less. John Floyd, his contract was for $150 an hour, even though Nathan Wade's was for $250 an hour. And that means Big Fani is busted. And so here is the excerpt from when Fani told us that she was paying everybody the same, back from her church.
But dear God, are you listening? Why does Commissioner Thorne and so many others question my decision in a special counsel? Lord, your flawed, hard-headed, and imperfect child, I'm a little confused. I appointed 3 special counsel, as is my right to do, paid them all the same hourly rate. They only attacked one. I hired one white woman, a good personal friend and great lawyer, a superstar, I tell you. I hired one white man, brilliant, my friend, and a great lawyer. And I hired one black man, another superstar, a great friend, and a great lawyer.
And
oh Lord, they're gonna be mad when I call them out on this nonsense. First thing they say, oh, she gonna play the race card now.
You are.
But no, God, isn't it them who's playing the race card when they only question one? Isn't it them playing the race card when they constantly think, I need someone from some other jurisdiction in some other state to tell me how to do a job I've been doing almost 30 years. God, why don't they look at...
Okay, so asking God questions that we already know the answers to. She had one white woman who presumably she didn't sleep with. She had one white guy who presumably she also didn't sleep with. And then there was one black guy who apparently she did sleep with. And so one of these things is not like the other. You know, one of these, like, okay, we have questions about the sleeping, and we have questions about your love affair leading to a conflict of interest because you're biased in favor of someone and against others. And so a woman, a white male, and a black male. Let's see what some of these contracts look like. Because remember, Nathan Wade, when he was meeting with the White House counsel, when he was colluding with Joe Biden, and when he was meeting with the January 6th committee, he was billing at $250 an hour. $250 an hour, meeting with the White House counsel before they even indicted him. We also know Fani was meeting with Kamala Harris as well, but she wasn't billing anything for it. So Wade is at $250 an hour. Well, the problem here is we've got some contracts that show Fani's numbers are a little bit misaligned. The Daily Caller got their hands on the contracts, and here is what they show. Fani Willis offered the top RICO expert in the state, a white guy that she didn't even sleep with, a lower hourly rate than her alleged lover, which is like a real insult. First of all, not even getting any, Fani sessions, and also getting paid less than everyone else. Fulton County DA paid her romantic alleged lover, Nathan Wade, to work at a higher hourly rate against Trump than other leaders. John Floyd, this guy, literally wrote a book on federal and state racketeering. Look at this. Look at this thing. Oh my gosh, it's $249. His book costs more than an hour of work that Fani was paying him for. Okay, $249. RICO, state by state. This is like, my friends, I have several books like this, about DUI law and stuff like that. They are serious things. Written by John Floyd, the editorial chair. Wrote the whole book on RICO. Well, apparently that's not good enough for Fani. And so let's get back to the exclusive, saying here he's considered Georgia's top expert. He entered into a contract for only $150 an hour, $150 an hour. But guess what? Nathan Wade, he's getting $250 an hour. A Trump co-defendant also claimed in a motion that there was a lucrative contract, and Willis responded to all of this. Now, the other special counsel, her name is Anna Cross, a female who, again, is probably not having intercourse with Fani. We have no evidence of that, so I would presume it didn't happen, but you never know. She got $250 an hour too, which is the same Nathan Wade amount. So what's curious about this is she's got 20 years of experience as a prosecutor. She's represented Georgia in multiple high-profile homicide cases, and she's argued over 60 times at the Georgia Supreme Court. Now, Floyd may have gotten paid more at a later date because the contract only goes through April 2022. So maybe they boosted his salary in the 2023 contracts. But Floyd previously worked with Willis to use RICO. They prosecuted a bunch of other people, including public educators, a cheating scandal. 11 teachers were convicted using RICO. Wade's prior experience is not good, and the Washington Post has some details about this. Now, Wade has been paid at least $654,000 since January, and check out this post from Drew Holden over on X. Apparently, there was this Times article. Who is Fani Willis? When they were doing these puff pieces, Fani did an interview with them. They're like lifting her up. Oh, she's so heroic. They posted this in this article. Miss Willis tends to speak as if the world were her jury box. Sometimes she is colloquial and warm. In an interview, she noted as an aside, she says, how much she loved Valentine's Day. She wrote this. Put that in your story there, New York Times. In case I get a new boo. Oh, she did. She got a new Wade, a new Nathan Wade, and paid him a lot of money. Allegedly went on some vacations with him. So in case I get a new boo, she wants everyone to know that she loves Valentine's Day. Okay, that's Fani. So, all right, that is what's happening there. So I've got the two contracts pulled up, and let's take a look at them. The first one comes in. It is Anna, and Anna is a female who's getting paid full wages, So this agreement made by Fulton County is made here. The attorney is accepting the position in July 15, 2022, so 2022 numbers. Here's the scope of the services. State, federal litigation, working with Fulton County. This attorney agrees to perform their duties. And here's the rate. Boom. Attorney compensation. The attorney, this one, a female, who I don't, know what relations this one has with, very good friends with Fani, according to her. $250 per hour, which is a lot less than the white guy got. Attorney is not permitted to work more than 80 hours per month, not exceed 80 hours. The attorney is going to get legal assignments from the district attorney. Now, if assignments are received and they require more than 80 hours, you got to get permission from Fani Willis herself. Nice. Now, attorney shall submit to the purchasing manager all of your hours, and the attorney agrees to do everything, appropriately under the rules. Termination, governing law. Boom, there it is. Fani Willis signed it. She knows what the rates were. She signed it with attorney Anna Cross, a white female. So she gets $250 per hour. Must be nice. Now let's take a look at what happened to the white male here. This is another contract for professional services. And they even call him John Floyd. They even call him here the RICO expert in here. Isn't that amazing? Now, here's the contract. Again, this is April 2021 through April 2022. So maybe his rates went up in the next year. That is possible. But look at this. A RICO expert. And we also have inflation too. Remember, Joe Biden's been in charge. So like 150 even in 2022 is worth more than it was in 2023. So maybe they had to increase pay for inflation. But point is, $150 per hour, okay? The white lawyer, $100 less than Anna and Nathan Wade. Now, in the event that they, and only 40 hours a month too. Half the time. Unbelievable. Sheesh. And then she's going to lecture us all about racism from her own office. And she says that if you need more than 40 hours, you got to get written approval from Fani. Now, did she sign this one? She did, didn't you, Fani? You did sign it. Fani signed this in 2021. So she knows full well what the rates are. Now, again, she could have given them, she could have re-signed this one at $250 an hour or whatever, but not here. We got two different bills, $150 an hour for the white guy. Everyone else is getting paid. Ridiculous. Racist, man. It's racist. Okay, so we also know that this guy, Nathan Wade, who is getting paid $250 an hour, is not even qualified. Here's the story from the Post. They did the digging. They say the embattled prosecutor in Georgia, who's alleged to have made a Fani with Willis, says in the fall of 2021, when he got brought on board this thing, he had little experience prosecuting criminal cases in Atlanta. Now, serving as a municipal judge who dealt with traffic tickets. Okay, in Arizona, we call these hearing officers. And in Arizona, our hearing officers don't even have to go to law school or be a licensed attorney at all. You just kind of get appointed and do it. Okay, now traffic court's very important court, but it's not a RICO prosecution. And he also runs a private practice that focuses on family law and contracts. Okay, so then Fani tapped him to lead the biggest case of her career, a 2.5-year investigation into Trump and more than a dozen co-defendants. So she decided to hire Wade, now facing enormous scrutiny. The accusations, if true, could either be a conflict of interest or could even amount to fraud, crimes. Now, the filing contains no proof, but the defense attorney Ashley Merchant says that it's there. Now, but the episode has drawn attention to this. Why? He's got over $650,000 in receipt for this prosecution. There's also scrutiny that is now coming down. Now, Wade has not responded to the allegations in the weeks since the filing, and Fani Willis on Sunday went to her church and accused everyone of playing the race card, right, by attacking Wade and Willis, who are black. Thanks for the clarification, WAPO. But not the other two special prosecutors in the case who are white, who also apparently didn't make intercourse with Fani. Now, without naming him, Willis described Wade as a lawyer of impeccable credentials with decades of experience. Willis did not address the romantic relationship there at all. She said, I appointed 3 counsel, which is my right to do, and I paid all of them the same hourly rate. They only attacked one. No, we saw there were different rates. Is that the same? Is it that some will never see a black man as qualified, no matter his achievements? No, that's not what we're saying at all. What more can one achieve? Well, it's not about the achievements. It's about the other conflicts. Now, we see Wade has been mired in a divorce. Jocelyn Wade is also in the mix here. Now, a day after county records show that Wade got hired, he filed for divorce. And there's just not much credentials here. A close examination of Wade's legal career, as well as interviews with those who have known him for years, reveal a respected attorney active in public life in Marietta, a northern Atlanta suburb where he lives, but one with little experience comparable to the Trump case. Yes, obviously. Roman made some claims in his filings This woman, Anna Green Cross, a criminal defense attorney, has led the arguments, and she's qualified, right? Her credentials are good, 20 years, prosecutor, this, that, and the other. But Wade's responsibilities have been less public. He's not actually doing anything. Although he has occasionally spoken up in motions hearings, he has, for the most part, assigned that role to others, serving in an administrative capacity behind the scenes. According to Willis's aides, he led the team through the preliminary investigation, copying and pasting Liz Cheney's homework, which heard evidence and testimony for 6 months. Now, Roman's filing also includes copies of invoices saying he met with the J6 committee and with the White House counsel. But Willis has said little publicly about why she appointed him. A person familiar with the hiring who requested anonymity said Willis approached several outside attorneys, but many declined, with at least one citing a desire to avoid the political atmosphere. Willis told her those close to her she wanted a person she could trust, and Wade had been a longtime friend, dating back to when he mentored her when she briefly served as a municipal court judge back there. She called Wade a superstar. I bet she thinks that. But Pete Skandalakis, the head of Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, which advises DAs around the state, said local prosecutors do not have to obtain permission from county commissioners to appoint outside prosecutors. According to county records, he got $650,000, and he was being paid $250 an hour on a 1-year contract in November 2021, okay? So that's the same year as John Floyd, okay? This was April 2021 at $150 an hour. So ridiculous. So even Wade in 2021 in November, he came on at $250. So I retract my prior hedge. I was, saying, okay, maybe the dates are off on these, but no, Washington Post even confirms. November 2021, he comes in at $250 and later got extensions as well. So the white guy got aced out of $100 an hour. The extensions included more rigorous language about what he could bill. Now, signed just weeks before the special grand jury concluded, Wade shall not earn more than $150,000 during that period. Now, I'm still looking for the Wade contract. I'm not seeing that one yet. The November 2022 contract, although we did see some of that in the original filing, signed just weeks before the grand jury, said Wade could not work more than 600 hours and shall not earn more than $150 during that period. But a new June 2023 contract, which ran through December, said he's not permitted to work more than 120 hours and limited his pay to $210,000. That's a lot of money, man. It was not immediately clear if Wade earned more than other outside attorneys. Well, we just clarified that for you. But records suggest Wade was earning even more than Willis, who makes just under $200,000 as a DA. Well, yeah, I mean, she was funneling it to him, and then he was taking her on cruises and vacays. Now, Wade tried to advance as a judge. A little bit more about him. He went to John Marshall Law School. He then worked as a prosecutor for, quote, several municipalities in Cobb County. Now, he's not publicly disclosed his political affiliation, but they say he leans Republican. Yeah, right. In his biography posted on his now defunct campaign website, he described himself as a conservative family man who divorced his wife and left her hung to dry. A frequent mention on the society page said he's a published guest. Another Republican mayor called him the first black judge on the bench. Says he's very well respected. Was not available for comment, though. As one of a handful of part-time judges, oh gosh, Wade presided over minor misdemeanor cases, often traffic violations, and minor criminal offenses like shoplifting and possession of less than an ounce of marijuana. This explains it, actually. We were wondering why Wade was giving everyone diversion deals. That's what he knows, because that's what you do for shoplifting and possession of marijuana, palm cases. You give them diversion. Don't do it again. We'll make everything go away. Not supposed to do that with RICO cases involving an insurrection that almost wrecked the whole country, but okay. High volume court, insurance, fender benders, all the things. Longest sentence you can impose is 12 months. Here's another lawyer. I've never seen him reject a plea offer or even question it. Very pleasant, very timely. Now, he's run for Superior Court, and you can see there's a lot of details here, but not a lot of background. So we know that Nathan Wade doesn't have the experience of this guy, John Floyd. John Floyd got paid $150 an hour November 2021, but Nathan Wade, Fani's alleged lover, $250 an hour. And the white woman also got $250 an hour. And so typical, man. Racist against the white guys in her office. Fani Willis busted. Lied to her own congregation. Lied in the house of God. Saying that they were all paid the same when they were not. And so Big Fani's busted. We're going to keep covering this, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thanks for sharing the show with a friend or family member, letting them know we're covering all this lawfare madness here, and for checking out robertgovea.com. The link is down in the description below. We've got a great newsletter we send out every day after the show is over so that you can see everything we talked about in case you miss anything here. It's all summarized. You can go back to the website, read the PDFs there. Signing up for the newsletter, get access to the mind map. Lots of good stuff. So check it out, robertgovea.com. That way we can see you back here as we cover what happens next with Fani, because she's going to have to respond to this soon in court. And we've got a hearing scheduled for February where hopefully they address this. We'll be covering it. Thanks for joining us as we do. We'll see you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. We got some good stuff covered. Fani's busted. First day of trial. In the second trial involving E. Jean Carroll. And of course, Trump blasted her and her credibility on Truth Social today. But now, my friends, let's hear from you and see what you have to say about it. We're going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members-only platform, where we do streams in the morning. We do Saturday shows. We talk about a lot of other fun stuff. So come and check us out. We'll also be there to debrief today's events. But let's see who is in the house kicking things off and supporting our work. Thank you for this one. 66 Anton, starting the day, saying, thank you everyone for being here. Numbers and knowledge is how we win this war. And I love that. That has a nice alliteration to it. Numbers and knowledge is how we win. And I totally agree. I'm very grateful to have you here, 66. We're going to keep building our numbers and keep building our knowledge. Tanya's here. Tanya Karras is in the house. Says, happy Taco Tuesday. Tanya, we missed you this morning. Having chili, cornbread, and Asian salad. See, our Taco Tuesdays on Locals is very inclusive. Whatever you want. Chili, cornbread, Asian salad. One thing I like to do is ask myself whether whatever Tanya's having as we celebrate Taco Tuesday, if it could be converted into a taco. So, for example, what happens if you took the cornbread that's flat and tacoized it? You know what I'm saying? And then put some chili in there and then sprinkled a little bit of your Asian salad on top. Is that a taco? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. Thank you, Tanya. Happy Tuesday. We got Glocky says, Rob, this just broke, but apparently the 4 conservatives on the appeals panel absolutely shredded Jack Smith. And this is something we'll probably see if we get into tomorrow, maybe. But the appeals court, this one was Twitter challenging the seizure of Trump's DMs. Twitter challenging the seizure and trying to appeal that. But that is not the same immunity issue that we were talking about. And so Trump is not a party to this lawsuit, as far as I know. I think Twitter is. But it's an interesting case. We'll possibly cover that or see if we can fit it in. Spuds is here, says, bacon be thy name. Well, yeah, that's one way to do it. And it is delicious. Chubby's here, says, I find it impossible to believe that these deranged prosecutors and political propagandists don't realize they're not fooling the majority of the population at this point. They just come off as so disingenuous at this point. It's embarrassing. Yeah, I think that they're going to sound like just an annoying kid who says the same thing over and over again. Excuse me, like a broken record. You know, somebody keeps telling you the same thing and you just kind of write them off. Okay, I've been hearing this from you, like the death of American democracy for 3 years. I don't believe it, and I'm not going to keep listening to you because now you're banging your special prosecutor. So your credibility is gone. Oh, you say Trump's going to wreck America? That's interesting because Hunter Biden apparently is still selling $500,000 paintings or whatever they're going for to DNC donors. Like the corruption is still on full display. Anyways, so nobody believes him, and that's why they're having to escalate. C. Wolf says, I've been a membo off and on since November 2020, but always a listener. Well, C. Wolf, thanks for that, my man. And you got the diamond badge on locals, and so it is showing. I can see that. You've been a membo for a long time, and thank you, C. Wolf. November 2022, man. That's when it all, well, we started the show March 2020 when the national emergency was declared. That was the impetus. And that was a wild year. November 20 was a wild year. Whew. Thanks for being here, C. Wolf. We're just warming up. CF Rob over on Rumble says, lawfare is blue kryptonite. It energizes MAGA for Trump. Dems are saying that they're going to leave the U.S. They're going to go to Russia, China, or Gaza. That sounds fine. I mean, they love those places. Ukraine. They love Ukraine. Now, or other countries where illegals come from, and they're going to bring them with you. Well, if they want to leave, that's fine. I hope they have a very nice trip. Show Bizzle is in the house. What's up, Show Bizzle? Thank you for the nice emojis, Show Bizzle. He got Larry, 1944, says, if you ever find yourself near a woman like this, run. Run. Good advice from Larry. Show Bizzle says, what? Well, I don't know, Show Bizzle. You have to tell us. Hey, this one from King Ginger on the tube says, what's even more disturbing to me about E. Jean is she looks almost identical to my grandmother. Oh, gosh. Except my grandma is a nice, respectable woman. Well, you know, that's true. Think of them as like opposites. You know, a nice woman who tells the truth, who would never make up false claims and lies. You know, we all have like our arch nemesis. And then the exact opposite, total demented lunatic who makes up a bunch of nonsense. I think that's fair. You know, we all have our doppelgangers out there, and we all also, have you like noticed there's probably maybe like 200 versions of people, like different models, and we all kind of like look alike, but you change the hair. Like there's a version of me out there, it's just different hair, a little bit different, you know, size a little bit, but kind of the same model. Interesting thought. Hey, this one from Glocky. Sharon says, E. Jean Carroll, what type of crazy do you need to be? This one, you're fascinating to talk to. That's one type of crazy. What type of crazy do you need today? I was laughing when describing it to a friend is one. Rape is sexy. That's another one. He raped me, but he didn't rape me. That's an interesting concept as well. I don't know how that works. Magnets, I don't know. I'm a massive Apprentice fan, says the woman who got raped by Donald Trump that the jury didn't believe her on. Yeah, all good sorts there. Glocky sharing this one says, we got some memes. Let's hit some of the memes in the after party. Here's one. From Glocky saying, it was me. It's Joe Sniffles. V says, if you don't remember who the judge is, just read the beginning of this article. And it's referencing us to Chevron, the contempt conviction upheld for the lawyer who won the Chevron lawsuit. And V says, I'm just going to be a jerk and point out that I was saying for a while that more people should go into the Donziger case to draw attention to it. But no one listened, so here the judge is again. Judge Kaplan, just being Judge Kaplan. V, you were right. You were right. We should have listened. Jonathan Manson says, do you think New York 6312 will make it to the Supreme Court after making it through the New York Court of Appeals and the New York Supreme Court? It was intended in 1956 for antitrust. Don't even know. Don't know what New York 6312 is, Jonathan. I apologize. That statute is not ringing out to me. If you're talking about Trump's appeals, I am hopeful that when it reaches the New York Supreme Court, ultimately the Supreme Court, that they reverse this and they find that there were no actual damages. There was no loss. Fred says, my phone broke and I have to wait for the new one to be shipped. Haven't had a phone for 4 days. So horrible. It is horrible. I can't do anything. Life sucks. Man, it is bad not to have a phone. Very bad. Yeah. And here, Glocky says, breaking, ABC News has canceled its New Hampshire GOP debate after Nikki refuses to participate without Trump. Interesting. So she doesn't want to give Ron a microphone. Quarter Native says anyone who believes E. Jean is on drugs. Yeah, probably including her. Now, there's no possible way he met her outside, went up 6 floors of escalators. Landre was on the 6th floor in the 90s. Shout out to Quarter Native. How do you know that? Well, I found the one single open dressing room, assaulted her in 3 minutes, and left the same way without a single person, employee, camera, security, or assistant even seeing them. It's impossible. I agree. The story is so crazy. They don't even know what date it was. There's all sorts of inconsistencies in her statement. There was no, I think this was like a high-end store. So like somebody would show you to the dressing room. Like there's somebody monitoring it, all the things. Like totally, all just happened. And then she didn't call the cops, report it to anybody, like talk to her friends a couple days later. The whole thing was just wild. So Quarter Native in the house. Thank you for that. We got Knox says, Counselor Abba tore it up. A great opening, and she stated what any woman knows, namely that this old hag needed a jolt and got it at Donald Trump's expense. Good to see you, Knox. Attorney in Texas. We got Gloria is here, bringing in 5 membos. What's up, Gloria B? Bringing in Aging Cynic, Maria K, Jay Thomas, Scott M, and Ann Shaw, all coming in. Thanks to Gloria B bringing in 5 new membos. We got Air Force Vet. What's up? Hey, the super chat's working. We saw you this morning. Isn't a sexual assault charge a criminal charge? Ordinarily, yeah. Then why was the E.G. Carroll case held in a civil court? Can a civil court hand down a criminal verdict? No. So what happened was, great question. What happened is New York, so they can't prove sexual assault. Okay, I don't know why statute of limitations expired. There's no evidence. They can't prove it. Prosecutors not bringing the case. They can't. So New York just created a statute for like a limited time. Like I think it's over now. It's like, hey, for 1 year, anybody who is victimized can now bring a new claim. And you've seen this. Other rappers and other people have all been apparently, charged and prosecuted and are going through litigation as a result of some of this. But they just brought it back, and now Trump is the victim of this, right? He's actually facing charges in civil court, but not criminal court, just because the statute allowed them to do that. Chubby's here. How dare thee question she, the largest Fani, who hath been ordained by the Almighty to hold judgment over the foul 45. She declared it herself that she was ordained by God. No one shall judge her. May I be smited by the big Fani creator. Hey, Glocky says, I think this Fani thing is on purpose. People know they can't win the case, so now they're going to try to get them out of there and get people with actual experience to go after Trump. Something feels off about this. Like people are just now finding out about this. It sounds crazy. It is pretty crazy. I agree. I don't know that there's anything like this doesn't help them at all. They were puffing her up. They were lifting her up on their shoulders, and it does not look good. So I think they just got caught with their pants down. 1R5 says, any plans to follow the San Diego Ashley Babbitt wrongful death case? I'm thinking a lot of interesting stuff will come out. Yeah, it's on the radar, 1R5. We covered the original complaint. So if you missed that, we did cover the full complaint. We read through the full thing here. If you missed the Ashley Babbitt stuff, that's already done. But in terms of ongoing litigation, I mean, if there's interest in it, we'll cover it. We kind of go where the interest is. So we read the first one. I thought it was very good. We also learned more about the officer who was involved there, Lieutenant Byrd. And I think there's going to be more coming out there. It's going to be a good one. We'll see if it goes to trial because I don't think it's going to settle. So we'll see. Good to see you, 1R5. This one from George, praise him, says, bring Jocelyn Wade on the show. LOL. That would be fun. That's a pretty good idea. I'm sure she's not talking to the media. Otherwise, we would have heard from her already. But maybe her lawyer. That's an interesting idea. Hey, what's up, Holly K? Holly K became a supporter. What's up, Holly? Our newest supporter. Very nice to have you. Don't forget to grab the Telegram link. Knox is here, says Wade's wife is gorgeous, a wine consultant and a mother of their 2 children. Another woman thing, but it would seem that the divorce filing was the quid pro quo for the contract with the county. I agree. It looks to me like he filed the divorce the day after he got the contract. So he's like, oh man, I got this new big Fani who's my sugar mama. Maybe she gave him an ultimatum. You better leave your wife if you want this government cheese. I don't know. Here, Maria, what's up, Maria, says, rough day. I'm a pro-per. Oh, I'm sorry to hear this, Maria. Maria K. I'm a pro-per in a civil case, means she's representing myself. I told the judge I have video proof opposing counsel perjured herself, and like a 2-year-old, the judge covered her ears saying, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. True story. Arg. That's disappointing, Maria. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, pro-pers often get run over, which is why it's not a good idea to be pro-per. But of course, I'm sure, it's hard to also hire a lawyer. To hire a lawyer in a civil case is very expensive. In any case, it's very expensive to hire a lawyer. So you go in, you try to represent yourself, and the judge disrespects you by putting their fingers in their ears, her ears, and screaming, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. That's a judge. Nice. Sorry to hear that, Maria. Shouldn't be that way. We got Seawolf says, they should rename the Associated Press the Associated Parrots. Well, they do. All they do is copy and paste. They just regurgitate the same stuff everywhere you go. Mr. Bill on Locals says, enjoy your shows, member and lurker, since March of 2019. That's a long, or March 19th. That's a long time, Mr. Bill. Long time. Great to have you here. And thank you for your amazing support. Quarter Native says, the Bergdorf store plan is on Google. Every supervisor I know believes E. Jean is lying. Awesome. New York in the 90s had rampant crime. That's why Giuliani won. He won on beating crime. That's awesome. So you looked it up. Amazing. I was just kind of teasing you about the lingerie thing, but it's funny. It's on there. Knox says, Bergdorf's would have had a, quote, shopper meet him at the door, start a room for him. The higher-end stores back in the day did that, even for normal folks who shopped there, much less a well-known guy like Trump was in the 90s. Yeah, like they would have been very happy to have had him there. Glocky says, Vivek just took the stage with Trump in New Hampshire. Ooh, I like the sound of it. Trump Vivek. I like it. We got this one from Gag says, excuse me, everybody. I missed the show. Can you go through it all again? Sure, happy to. Okay, so everybody, we're starting over. Gag's here. We're going to start over. Okay, so let's start it back over here. Okay. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. All right, so we'll start it over from there. Thanks, Gag. And let's say what's happening over on the X platform before we wrap it up and go over to hang with locals for a short bit for our after party. YouTube friends, join us by grabbing the Telegram link in the YouTube community section. We got this one from Retired Dave says, it's sad how the guy funding E. Jean Carroll's lawfare versus Trump is also funding Nikki Haley's presidential campaign. We got this one from Rob says, Rob, as I tell everyone who complains about their pay, it's not what you're worth, it's what you can negotiate. We got George, Tim Clifford says, these people are a joke and it infuriates me that the higher courts are not stepping in. Howler Dude says, Rob, will you just get over with it? Get it over with and start calling her Eugene Bergdorf. I don't know who that is. Hey, and Danny says, am I wrong? If Trump says anything other than what he said in court, that would be perjury. Well, it would depend on, I guess, the statement and whether he actually perjured himself. But my friends, those are our friends on the X platform. We are going to wrap it up there and head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We want to thank everybody who modded the fort down and memed down the place for us. Our friends John McGarvey, Vientikis Prime, and I see Zach Nichols clipping away for us. Shout outs to Vientikis. We got K Bean, Just Cause, Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Beyond Geo. We got Zach Nichols, John Allen, Janek 909, Dog Digger, and our friend Donut Mind Me, modding down the fort, clipping away for us. We're grateful for them. We also got our meme smith, Jeegum Geegum, Nathan, N810, and Sleepy Dog Lee in the house. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We'd love to see you there or back there tomorrow on our morning stream. But if not, well, we are going to be back here tomorrow to get into it all again. And we need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.